Hey guys, what's up? It's Ansel, and today we're going to be taking a look at how I built a $200 entry-level budget board for a client. $200 is an excellent budget for your first custom, as it's just enough to get some quality parts for your build, and it's not overly expensive. The first part to our build is going to be the Gateron Milky Yellows, which we picked up for about $17. Once we've opened up all the switches and have them sorted out, we're going to put roughly 10 drops of Krytox 105 oil into the bag with the springs, blow it up, and give them a good shake for roughly a minute. Doing so allows us to smoothen out the key press just a bit and reduce overall spring crunch and ping. Now, once we finish bag lubing the springs, we're going to move on to lubing the bottom housing. I like to go a bit light here, applying a thin even coating on the stem rails, pole, and leaf. I wouldn't worry too much here if you've overlubed a bit. Just make sure that you're not seeing any visible globs of Krytox anywhere. After that, we're going to start filming the switches using Deskeys films. They ran us about $7, and while they're optional, I honestly think that they're a crucial component to most switches out there when it comes to improving sound and feel. They'll be placed carefully on top of the bottom housing. Putting these on will help tighten the tolerances of the switch housing once assembled, reducing rattle and housing wobble, and, in this specific case, deepening the sound profile. It is important to note that not all switches benefit from using a thick film, and sometimes the tolerances can even be overstrained by using overly thick films. Make sure to double check what most people use when filming your specific switches. After filming, we're going to place the springs onto the center pole of the bottom housing. Once that's finished, we'll begin lubing the stem. Also, apologies here, I didn't realize that my hand was out of focus. My technique is a bit different here when compared to traditional methods, but it delivers the same results while saving us a whole lot of time. For first timers out there, I would recommend using traditional methods though. Since this is a linear switch, I'm going to go a bit heavy on the lube and lube all parts of the switch that makes contact with the switch housing. The front, the back, the side rails, the pole, and the stem legs. As we detailed earlier, I went very light on the lube on the bottom housing, and I won't be lubing the top housing at all. Maybe over the course of 2-ish days, the lube will spread evenly within the switch, giving it basically the same feel as a normally lubed switch, while saving us maybe an hour of work. This is a trick that I learned from Tet, a moderator in Homogeneo's Discord, so big ups to him. Now that we've finished lubing the stems, making sure that the stem legs are facing the leaf of the housing, we're going to snap on the top housings, making sure that they're oriented correctly, with the rounded side of the housing facing the switch leaf. Next, we move on to modding the stabilizers, probably the most important mod when building a keyboard. Here we're using Durock Stabilizers V2, probably the best that you can find. They ran us about $25. Here you can see me balancing the stabilizer wire, where I tap both sides of the stab wire to check for rattle. The side that rattles is the side that isn't flat, which means we have to bend it until it is. You can use dual syringes like Wildcat, or you can use your hands and some pliers like me. This process can take a while, but it is very much worth it. Once all the stabilizers are properly balanced, we can move on to lubing the stabilizer housings. I like to go light with the Krytox here, making sure that the housing doesn't get too cloudy. Too much lube here can make the switch feel a bit sluggish, as well as making it sound wet. You don't want that, trust me, it's gross. After that, you'll see me lube the stabilizer stem. For the spacebar, I like to put a little glob of dielectric grease in the stem hole before moving on to lubing the outside of it. This is based off of Minterly's plugging the butt method, except it reduces the risk of us getting dielectric grease onto the stem housings, which would really make the stabilizers sluggish. Once I finish assembling the stabilizers, I like to place them onto the board and the switch to listen for any rattle. Testing for rattle now is important, as you need to remove all switches before removing the stabilizers. This will save us a lot of time and frustration in the long run. Now that we've finished tuning the stabilizers, we're going to place all the switches onto the board and the plate. The plate that we're using is an aluminum plate and runs us about $20. The PCB that we're using is a Hotswap DZ60. This is a great board for beginners as it's easy to use, allows us to try out new switches in the future without having to desolder, and isn't much more expensive than the soldered version of this board. It also has per key RGB if that's something you're looking for, and it roughly runs us about $55. Now that we've got all the switches in, we're going to start putting foam into the keyboard case. This will reduce the hollowness and metallic ping, neither of which we want. The aluminum low profile case we have here is pretty solid and runs us about $50. You can skimp here if you want to save money, as there are cases that go as cheap as $15. Now that the case is foamed up, we're going to mount the board and test if all the keys work. In our case, I had to remove one of the center posts using a flush cutter, as we were getting false keystrokes, but once it was removed, everything worked flawlessly, and because we have all the other posts, I didn't lose any stability at all. Finally, we add keycaps to the build. These are tai-hao purple on gray keycaps, and they cost us roughly $40. These are fairly decent keycaps, are PBT double shot, meaning the legends will never fade, and they can cover quite a few different layouts. They also look pretty good. There is a wide variety of keycaps here that you can get for pretty much any price, from $15 to even $200. So you can go crazy here depending on what your budget allows. Other options near this price include HK Gaming, KP Republic, and a whole slew of non-branded caps from AliExpress. So take a look. And there we go. A completed board for around $200. There are other options that you can get like the NK65 or the AK68, but I just really wanted to use parts that were always in stock and don't typically go out of stock. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed, and I hope some of you found this at least a little bit helpful. And without further ado, here's a sound test.